I was on 150 milligrams of methadone. I was unemployed for 7 years. I was living with a girlfriend who was paying for everything in Los Angeles, and my mom told me she had leukemia. And that's when I started tapering off methadone, and I moved home probably 10 months later, and I was with her when she died.
Dave Manheim, I'm very honored that you're here today.
Jana, I'm honored that you had me here today.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I was very scared to go on your podcast. Are you at all scared to be here today?
No.
Yeah.
I'm not. But you shouldn't have been scared to come on my podcast either.
Yeah, that was the first one I'd ever been on. I found it very intimidating.
How long into it before you realized that you were comfortable?
I don't think I ever got comfortable that day.
That's so sad. I thought we had such a nice time.
No, it was good. It was good. No, and I think I do better at live things. I think the thought of being recorded, I find very anxiety producing. But anyways, this isn't about me. We're so happy you're here today. And for anyone that for some reason might not know who you are and what you do, can you just share like a little bit about how you got here?
Okay. My name is David Manheim. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people didn't know who I was, but I do a podcast called Dopey, and I started it with my friend Chris O'Connor, who I met at Mountainside. So I feel very fortunate, and I feel like it's very circuitous and fortuitous that I could be on a Mountainside podcast so many years later. And I do this podcast called Dopey, which is on the dark comedy of drug addiction, and I've been doing it just about 10 years, and Chris died 7 years ago. Actually, I was recording Dopey today, and today is the 1 year anniversary of this other woman who died. Her name was Annie Ellie, and it's just very emotional to do these shows with all this death, and I'm very happy to be here with you, though.
I'm happy you're here with me too. And we've done some good things together in the past. I am curious, like I wanted to start in the beginning. We can definitely like go into Dopey more, but like when you were little, did you ever think you'd end up doing this? Like what, obviously not, podcast didn't exist when you were little, but like what did you want to be when you were little?
I mean, the truth is the first thing I wanted to be was a talk show host.
Oh my God.
Like
you just missed this. No, I was telling Kat, you know who I wanted to be when I was little? Sally Jesse Raphael.
Nice. Mm-hmm. I wanted to be Regis Philbin.
Oh,
I loved Regis Philbin. And my mom would listen to a show called Rambling with Gambling, which was a radio show on 1010 Wins. And she'd listen to it like 6 a.m. And he was like this chill kind of guy. And he would make jokes and talk to people. And my mom would listen before she went to work. And I was like, that sounds like a relaxing thing to do. And then I was like, maybe I should be a meteorologist. And my dad was like, you're going to need real science for that. So I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I always wanted to be a talk show host.
Wow. And interview people?
No, I just wanted to be in a situation where I was somehow a relaxing form for somebody else.
Like soothing.
It was, I wanted to have fun. Mm-hmm. And I wanted someone else to feel comfortable because I was having fun.
You're very good at that. I have to say, you're incredibly talented, I think, at making people feel comfortable. I mean, you get in there and you talk about some of people's most personal, painful things and somehow make them funny, sometimes appropriately or irreverently. And people, I mean, I've had that experience myself too, where I'm like, after I talk to you, I'm like, oh my God, how did I end up sharing so much? Because as you mentioned, I am a private person.
You're a very private person.
Very private person.
But I'm excited because I'm thinking the more stuff we do together, the more open you'll be to doing more stuff together. And I have some ideas.
I can't wait to hear them. We'll save those for after this. For
You're very worried about what I'm about to say.
Yes, I am. I know. Fair. You are a little bit of a loose cannon, so I do worry. So let's go back to what with gambling, and did they talk about gambling at all?
No.
So
his name was just John Gambling, and the rambling was just him talking. Okay. And I grew up in this neighborhood also. I grew up 10 blocks away from here. In Chelsea, in public housing. And my parents were both teachers, and I went to probably the best public school in Manhattan, and I went from Chelsea to the Upper East Side from when I was 4 till when I was 17. And like that was my life. And then when I was a junior or senior in high school, we would get in my high school, you finish school when you're a junior. So when you're a senior, you have to get an internship. And I wound up getting an internship at MTV, and I became like an on-air person at MTV.
You were on air in high school and MTV?
Yes.
So we could have all seen Dave on air
It
at
was
MTV.
like
We got to fight.
2
That's
times.
crazy.
It was 2 times.
Okay.
And then the show got canceled. But it was like dream kind of thing.
Yeah, that is a dream kind of thing. That's huge. And it's like a different world.
Yeah.
Was this a magnet school or like a charter school? Did you have to like apply to get in?
It's called Hunter. Like Lin-Manuel Miranda went there, and like the dude who wrote Book of Mormon went there and wrote Frozen, and I went to school. Like
and
he was,
Dave Manheim went there.
and I went,
That's great.
And the very famous sportscaster went there too. But no, when I was 4, I took like a test and I got in, and it was 50 kids out of 10,000 kids got in. And then for 7th grade, 200 more kids get in out of 100,000 kids citywide. And the first one is Manhattan wide. And yeah, but I was like, my mom was sure I was going to wind up going to Harvard, and she would say, I'm going to scrub the floors if you go to Harvard to pay for you to go. And by the time I was in like 7th grade, they were like, we don't think
you're not going to Harvard.
Well, my mom knew I wasn't going to Harvard, and the school was like, we don't think you should be in this school.
Oh,
and they started suggesting I leave every year after 7th grade.
What did your parents teach?
My mom taught kids with learning disabilities in Washington Heights, and she taught reading, and my dad taught science and still does. He teaches earth science at FIT.
That's amazing. Did you ever think you'd go into education at all? Like,
no.
To teach your parents?
No, but I wish. I mean, my parents described it as a horrible thing to do. Like, they were underpaid and underappreciated and worked so hard. But they had really, really nice lives. Like, I think perspective is a funny thing. Like, they made a lot of really good decisions. We lived very cheap in Chelsea. We had a parking spot behind our house, and they bought a lake house, and like we had a really nice life. And they also saved a ton of money and had a nice retirement because they were very practical people. I was a drug addict.
I know. Did they see it coming, you think, at all?
They didn't see it coming. I was like very much like the prototypical slacker, liar, manipulator in
from a young age? Or?
Yeah. Well, from as soon as puberty hit, I kind of went off the rails, but not noticeably, just more internally. I started lying. I started stealing. I
like to get away with it, like just to get the rush?
Yeah.
Because you didn't need to steal. I'm like, from what you're describing, it's not like...
I stole because I like to steal. Like, I like to do what I wanted and get away with stuff. I lied for kind of the same reason. I enjoyed, like, my own sort of version of manifest destiny or something, that I could do this. And it was like, I also was so bad in school. Like, I couldn't pay attention in school. I didn't do well. I had a group of friends that I loved that I'm still very close with to this day. But I would definitely manipulate teachers and tell my parents that I'm like playing my teachers, and I was really playing nobody. But I didn't wind up doing substances. Like, I drank. One summer, I was a waiter at a summer camp, and I blacked out drinking screwdrivers, and I was like, I probably can't drink. And then I drank casually, and I was like, my body couldn't handle the alcohol.
That's interesting. How were alcohol and drugs talked about in your house when you were growing up?
They weren't, not at all.
So no one talked about it. You
Not
didn't
at
see?
all.
Did your parents drink in the house?
No.
So
My
they weren't
mother
big
didn't
drinkers
drink
at all.
Not at all. I think she had a similar thing that I did, that when she drank, she felt
Just
sick.
blacked out? Oh.
No, she felt sick. And my dad would like drink a beer if he had spaghetti or something. My mom smoked cigarettes younger. She stopped smoking.
So back with you, like when you started using, how did your parents eventually address it when they realized like you had a problem?
I started smoking weed in high school. When I got to college, I decided I should smoke weed every day. And I smoked weed every day from freshman year in college till 41. If I wasn't in an institution, I smoked weed. And I did psychedelics, and I did pills, and I did anything I could. And my parents didn't know anything.
They had no clue if you were using daily, like you're smoking weed daily. They had no clue. Like, were you smoking in your room though?
Sometimes.
Didn't they smell
I had a lot of methods.
Okay.
A lot of methods.
Like dry cleaner sheets and like toilet paper holders and
totally. I did that.
That's very suburban. Yeah.
But I was very urban, and we would smoke on the roof of the building, or we had a room in our house that was kind of like a terrace, and you could just, we had techniques. You'd smoke weed, you'd hold it all in, then you'd stick your head out the window and blow the whole thing out and close the window, and no smoke would come in. But I think my parents didn't really pay attention. I don't think they knew what they were seeing. We would like take acid and come back in the middle of the night and be tripping, and they wouldn't know. But they found out when I showed up in detox.
So how old were you when you went to your first detox?
I would say 24.
Were you surprised to end up in a detox? Like, oh my God, how'd I get here? Or
Yeah, I was, but I had become a TV producer. I was making really good money. I was living in a studio apartment in the buildings that I had grown up in. I was making a talk show about music. I was like living my dream, and I was addicted to heroin. And once I was making the money I was making, I decided I could afford the heroin. My rent was $300 a month, and I was making like $100,000 a year, and I couldn't afford it.
yeah.
And then I wasn't that surprised when I went to detox.
But were your parents? Or were they like on paper, like, David's doing so well, you've got this 100K job, you're living the dream?
It's a question that's better to ask my dad, but I know the answer. And the answer was, they didn't understand why I had so little money if I was making so much money and paying so little rent and looked so shabby. Like, it didn't make sense to them, but they could not connect the dots. And I only told them because I figured when I went to Beth Israel public detox, 24, strung out on heroin, and I was a TV producer, and I could have told the network.
Yeah.
And they would have taken me to like Silver Hills or something, or Mountainside. And instead, I told my parents, and the network fired me because I was in breach of contract. And then that was the beginning of total
end
of everything. I wound up on methadone. I wound up in treatment. I wound up losing my apartment. I wound up not working for 10 years or something, maybe longer. So it was like that decision of telling my parents instead of work was a pivotal moment in my life, recovery and addiction.
Wait, were you expecting your parents to like call into work, you mean, or what was?
No, I just didn't know. I was standing in front of a payphone in the detox. I think I told them to call the work and tell them I was sick. You know, I think that was my, I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I was not my best self at the time. And I just called them. If I had called work and said, I have a drug problem, they would have had to, under contract, take care of me.
Yeah.
But instead, I just didn't show up, and they fired me.
Okay.
It was also like, I was so young, and it was the first time I wasn't shooting yet. I was so green to using. The clinician at the detox said the one thing no one should ever tell a heroin addict.
You're not so bad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was like, you'll be all right. And I went home and I used.
Yeah. That's terrifying.
It wasn't until Mountainside. Mountainside was the first place I went that they were like, you're going to die.
You got to stop using. Yeah.
No, it was just, you're going to die. They said, you're in late stage drug addiction and you're going to die. And I was like, wow. Because when I was at Mountainside, I was 35.
It's like 11 years later.
11 years later. And I had a 7-month-old
That's wild.
daughter.
Yeah, baby.
And I had pictures, like my dad printed me pictures of her, and I like shitty computer.
And you hung them on your wall.
I put them on the wall, and I still didn't really get it.
Yeah.
But it's wild to think about.
Hi, I'm Ricky, recovery support clinician here at Mountainside. For veterans and military families facing addiction or mental health concern, Mountainside is here. We accept Humana TRICARE and are a proud member of VACCN, ensuring accessible, high-quality care. Our specialized programs and staff with military experience understand your journey, providing the targeted support for healing and recovery. If you or a loved one needs help, please call 860-824-1397.
Have you seen, or did you see how your parents at the time like changed through your, like, just as you changed, by the time you're 24, at the time you're 35, did you see them change in their relationship with this?
Definitely. But they kind of did what's suggested of parents, which has nothing to do with the addict. They kind of took care of themselves. Mm-hmm. They went to Families Anonymous. they joined a gay square dancing group called the Times Squares and square danced their life away.
That's great.
They kind of like
that part, but yeah.
I mean, I often joke on the show that my parents were responsible for my heroin addiction, but it's only partly a joke. You know what I mean? It's like they weren't really paying attention to what I was doing when I was using, before they knew, and they really weren't paying attention to what I was doing after they knew. But they were taking care of themselves, so they weren't suffering because of my addiction.
Do you think when you look back on it, did you have other expectations of them? Like to somehow like be your cheerleader for this or take care of you or rescue you? So it wasn't like that.
No, I didn't. It's just after the fact when you hear all these stories. And I mean, to be truthful, I love having my dad on the show because I love
your dad.
I love
you
him.
Definitely have a beautiful relationship with him.
But I love like telling him what a horrible father he was. Even though he was a great father, he did his best. But I get this great sick pleasure at needling him about certain things. And like, it's probably not fair of me because like my friends, like I don't know how your parents were. My friends, like their parents thought the best of my friends. They were so excited for everything they did. Mm-hmm. My parents like didn't care what I did.
Do you know that to be true, or is it just maybe they have like less like affect? Like maybe they did care and they were quite proud of you. I mean, it sounds like when you were younger, they obviously were. They were like, he's going to go to Harvard.
Before I was a person, there was like this idea of me because of the school I was in. Mm-hmm. Once I became kind of an adolescent, I was like, just like a manipulator. And I don't like my mom thought I'd be a good salesman. Like, and then when I was a TV producer, and I don't want to hold on to resentment. My parents did the best they could, but reality is reality. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know they were part of the story of me becoming a heroin addict, but they are not responsible for me becoming a heroin addict. And I love my parents, and my dad is like the greatest thing in the world. So I do not want to paint this horror show picture.
No. So when you were going through this, like in and out then of treatment, like getting sober, going on methadone, moving cross country, all the things, were you like just like calling them occasionally, or what was your relationship like?
No, I was calling them. I was close with them even though it was so broken. You know, I talked to them at least weekly, and I only came home from California because my mom told me she had gotten leukemia. I was on 150 milligrams of methadone. I was unemployed for 7 years. I was living with a girlfriend who was paying for everything in Los Angeles, and my mom told me she had leukemia. And that's when I started tapering off methadone, and I moved home probably 10 months later, and I was with her when she died. And
did you move home to take care of her, or just like to be there?
I moved home because I could not live with the idea of being in LA on methadone, doing nothing while she died. I refused to do that. And when I came home, I wasn't like sober, happy, joyous, and free and productive, but I had just gotten my job at Katz's when I came home, and I was present, and I visited her in the hospital, and I visited her upstate, and she told me she thought she was going to die very soon. Then I moved. I was living in Vermont for a minute, and then I moved to Manhattan, and just to kind of be around, and then she took a bad turn and wound up in NYU hospital, and I was working at Katz's, and just being there, even though I wasn't sober and I didn't really have my shit together, having a job and being able to sit with her and not be totally wasted was like just an amazing outcome.
It is. Did you have to watch her about the treatment and everything? Did she do chemo or radiation?
She did everything, but nothing really worked, and she died really fast. She died probably 30 months after she got the first diagnosis. So it was maybe even less. It was, and I was on drugs, so it was all very much a blur. But if I had stayed in LA and I stayed totally out there, it would have been very hard to live with.
Yeah, you made the right decision at the time, definitely. Did you ever have a moment after that when you got sober where like you could really feel it, like the grief?
With my mother, the deepest grief I felt was right when she died, and I called one of my oldest friends to tell him, because he had been close with her, and I just broke down. And then after that, I think I didn't get sober then. I didn't get sober for another 6 years or something. And I had a kid and I wasn't sober. And I was just trying to like hold it together. And by the time I got sober, there was no grief anymore. It was more just living with it. And it's kind of one of those things in my head where I don't know what happened. You know what I mean? Like, we were talking about memory and stuff. My mom loved me. I loved my mother. It wasn't a perfect relationship. I have weird resentments about it, but I wish I had a better feeling. I don't know. Like, I wish I felt better about it deep down.
Mm-hmm. But it sounds like you do feel good about your decision. Like, there was definitely a part of you that knew to get out of LA and come back home.
I wouldn't be. Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite things that I ever got to do. I wouldn't be surprised if I processed this information like this to keep myself from feeling the pain of her being gone. Just sitting here talking.
I don't feel your pain. I would never say that. But I mean, cancer's so brutal and it's so painful to watch. I mean, you love, truly not have control. Like that's truly powerless.
It's interesting though, because I've never even made that connection of why I deal with it the way that I deal with it until I'm just sitting here trying to sweep all this stuff under the rug. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Although when she was dying, they gave her a ton of Dilaudid.
I was going to ask that morning.
They gave her a ton of Dilaudid, and I would sit with her, and she got super high, and she was like, she laughed with me, and she was just like,
is this what you like?
Yeah, exactly.
Is this what it's like to
yeah.
Could you laugh with her about it?
Yeah, I totally could. Because I like to see her feel good in that moment. And again, like...
Can I ask, did you ever take her meds, like fentanyl patches or anything?
I never got to do fentanyl, ever. Remember what?
Okay, never got the way you say, never got.
Well, Chris and I would talk about that.
Yeah.
Say you died.
Yeah.
With my mom, she got a bunch of Percocet, and after she died, I went into her, I don't know, it was like a bag full of drugs, and I took the Percocets. And then my sister came to clean out her apartment and found the bag of drugs. And I think she had 2 bottles of it because they found the other bottle and she didn't know that I had taken the Percocet. So I got away with it. And I was very happy and grateful to have gotten away with it. Should I feel guilty? Are you trying to make me feel guilty?
Definitely not trying, but I just think it's one of those things that many people can relate to. I mean, I was a hospice volunteer for a long time, and one of the big protocols in a hospice social worker is making sure the medications are all taken. It's one of the big things that we're very aware of now in that community, because people are in immense pain. They're watching someone they love die and struggle and be in physical pain. It's really hard for us to watch someone in physical pain. So a lot of family members try to take the meds. So, and honestly, I probably shouldn't say it, but like employees too. So yeah, so there's a really good protocol nowadays about making sure all the meds are disposed of properly. I have so many questions too. I get stuck on details. I'm like, oh my God, what happened to the girlfriend in LA? Do you guys ever like message and like do you ever text each other or Instagram? Like, just like like technology connect. I feel like that's
not much. Not much.
I mean, vaguely, can you share like where she is in the world? Like, did she move on from you? And did you ever pay her back?
No, I never paid her back.
I'm not trying to make you feel guilty.
I don't feel guilty. What happened was, it's a very messed up story, to be honest.
Do you want to share it or no? I mean,
I don't mind sharing it. It's like, I feel like it's more important to be transparent than anything else. Cause like, I don't know. I've talked about it on Dopey a million times. What happened was, when I went to that school, right?
Hunter
Elementary School. 1979. There was a kid in my nursery school named David. His last name started with an M also. And he was one of my very, very best friends. And he was in my core group. He met this woman in college and they fell in love. And he brought her back to Brooklyn. And somehow in those years, early adulthood, early 20s, he started traveling. I was around. She started hanging out with me. She was a stoner. I was a stoner. I had a job delivering weed around Manhattan. She would drive me.
Did you always say he could bike?
I bike too, but I got hit by cars a lot when I did it. But
Are you able in peace?
it's a miracle. But we wound up, and I was using hard drugs, and we wound up like having an affair. And she left him for me, and we stayed together for like 10 years. And it was so much guilt and shame around
so much like drama.
It was more guilt and shame. Like me and my friend just stopped talking. I tried
You've known each other.
What's that?
You've known each other since 1979?
Since 1979, and we stopped talking. I apologized a million times, and I had decided if I had ruined this brotherhood, I was going to make this relationship with this woman work. But I think I was so corroded, and she's a wonderful person. She's very smart and funny and all these great things. But because of the guilt and shame, like I couldn't live with myself. And I think it kept me using way more. So by the time we were together from, I want to say around 99 to 2009, something like that. No, 99 to 2007, something like that.
Okay, yeah.
But my years are all messed up with drugs. It wasn't until I moved back east and my mother was dying that I broke up with her. And then after my mother died, I reached out to him and me and him became friends again. And I spoke to her a few times. She was one of the people that died. It was my best friend died before Chris died. It's a guy named Todd. And she was very close with Todd too. So we talked around then, but I don't think it's particularly healthy for her, for me, or for my family, for me to have like a real relationship with her. So I don't talk to her too much.
That's a really good answer, honestly.
But she's great.
Yeah.
When we broke up, she like got a job as a headhunter for like Nike and stuff. And she made enough money in like 3 years of me and her being broken up to retire, buy a house in Woodstock, buy a house for her mother. She retired before she was 50.
Okay.
And like she hadn't worked. It was like crazy. I really held her back. And my friend became a doctor. So.
And you became Dave from Dopey Podcast.
That's right.
Who's been on This American Life.
Yeah.
Who's done all sorts of things.
Yes.
And saved a lot of people, I think, in your own way, or been part of them saving themselves, you know.
Hopefully I've been
helpful. Well, I think, yeah, you're very raw. You don't hold back anything about yourself for others that have been around you. What about, this is very random, but I can't help asking, where'd you live in Vermont?
We lived in Burlington just for a few months.
Okay.
I realized, like, as soon as we got there that I couldn't
That wasn't
stay
your
there.
scene. But did you grow dreadlocks? Did you
I was there for...
tie-dye and, like...
I got there in June, and I think I left in August.
Okay, short.
Yeah, we didn't have... I don't think we had a car.
Okay.
It was like, it was not going to happen.
Yeah.
It was not going to work for us there.
So you live in California. Now you got, obviously, native New Yorker, brief time in Vermont. Anywhere else?
Florida for a year in sober living.
You're in
Delray.
In Delray.
Yeah.
Alrighty, yeah.
And now I live on Eastern Long Island for 10 years. For most of my recovery has been on Eastern Long Island.
Yeah.
I like it,
Good.
surprisingly.
Yeah. Sometimes we don't know what we're going to like.
Did I reveal too much? Did I make you uncomfortable with my transparency?
I know. I wanted to ask some more, too, about, like, the way your parents sort of, it sounds like they didn't know or they didn't quite acknowledge your substance use for a long time. How are you different as a parent? I mean, your kids must know what your job is, right?
I mean, my older one knows everything because I got sober when she was 5. And so I wasn't living with her and her mother for 3-4 years in there. So when we got back together, we got back together when she was around 5. Probably when she was 8 or 9, I started to explain what had happened.
How'd you explain it to, like, the little one?
I don't know. I think I was way matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was way matter of fact. I think it was the first time I ever heard her talk about some sort of prevention program in school that I was like, that's what happened to me. And I'm sober. I'm in recovery now, but that's why me and mommy weren't together. And I was because she also had a friend whose parents were using, and she lived with her grandmother. So like it was kind of in conversation. So I talked about it with her. I think my parents were such an amazing couple. They loved each other so much. They were so invested in each other.
Like best friends. Like it sounds like they were, I don't know, but just, yeah, really a good team. Like they were dancing and in sync, literally. And
they were like, they were at the theater every night and out for dinner. And like
they enjoy their life together.
They had a really good, but I was like, I literally grew up watching television. Like I had
but I heard your parents had a camp. Didn't they have a camp?
No, I was, they worked at a camp.
Okay, they worked at a camp.
I hated that situation.
Was it like a camp in the Berkshires or where was it?
It was in New Hampshire.
Okay. And why did you hate that situation?
I just felt like, you know how alcoholics feel totally isolated and uncomfortable in their own skin?
Yeah, and like a room full of people type of thing. Like it's a bunch of people sleeping in a cabin.
In Manhattan, I didn't feel like that. I felt like totally at home and comfortable. And when I went up there, I just like was like, as soon as I could think straight, I was like, I don't fit here, and it was very uncomfortable.
Did your parents work there all summer?
Yeah.
So you had to live there all summer?
Yeah. And I had to go there until I was like 14 or something.
Were you like a junior camp counselor?
No, it was not. I wound up going to a different camp and became a waiter, and I was even more uncomfortable there. And I think the way we parent is more based on how Linda grew up. Linda grew up in this situation where her parents would take her and her brother on these long vacations across country. And I feel like our parenting is more like that, and my relationship with my kids. I have a very good relationship with my dad, and I think if I had been sober while my mother was alive, I would have had a great relationship with her. I work very hard at my relationship with my kids. I love spending time with them. My older one seems to like telling me stuff and being with me. Like I think tomorrow we're going to come to Manhattan and like go to museums and stuff. Like we go to the ocean, and we just went on this 15-day adventure. We're very close. I haven't talked to my 7-year-old about my addiction or my recovery or...
When does she pick your job as, your 7-year-old?
Well, I work at a deli. I mean, like... And
didn't she know about your whole, like, the podcast? Or
she knows I do it.
Dopey Con and... Like,
she doesn't know what it's about. She just knows that I have a podcast. She doesn't really know what a podcast is. She's 7.
She ever gets on YouTube and somehow sees podcasts?
No.
Okay, good.
She goes on YouTube, but she doesn't see podcasts.
Yeah.
Maybe she's seen little bits, and my older one just doesn't care what I do. Like, she could see everything if she wanted to. She's just not interested. She gets enough out of me as it is. I recently did a video of making an omelet. Did you see
I love that. You're washing the broccoli. Yeah. It's so funny. It's so interesting because I was saying that I didn't know she made it, but like, it has such a different like vibe than your other things. Like it's so much more sunnier, and lighter. But I mean, obviously that you were, actively in that. But
we're gonna try to shoot more videos. But
it's great. It's cool actually seeing yourself through your kids' eyes. I notice that too. Like when my kids take different videos or pictures of me, it's different than other people because it's obviously externalized in some way, but in some way it is through their eyes that we get to see you a little bit.
It's nice.
Yeah, parenting's interesting. Parenting in sobriety is incredible. I think that there's no exit door. You're just like, you got to be present. Yeah. And I mean, we can all numb out, obviously, like on phones, on all sorts of things. But it is still a different thing that you get to be totally there. And like, working in this field, your kids will learn interesting parts of it.
I have never had as much fun as I've had as a parent with my kids or as a part of my family. Like I've never had nearly as much fun. Like everything is so fulfilling, and it's strange to even say it. Like to walk the dog with them, to go into the woods with them, to go to the ocean with them, to go to an amusement park. And my wife is so good at planning these trips, and it's like way better than I ever expected it to be.
So it's different than your childhood a lot. It sounds like too, it's like more like led by things you all like together because you didn't really enjoy.
When I was a kid, I literally had a TV in my room when I was 8, and I like sat with the TV until I was 17, basically.
That was my life and all growing up. Do you think that's a good way to end the
Well, no, I think too, you also talked about you had a lot of childhood friends. Okay, so let's go back to, there was something else I wanted to get to. I think we can't make too many assumptions, but it does sound like your mom probably really also like appreciated you being there. Just like you appreciate talking to your kids, that you could come and laugh about a lot and that you're sitting right next to her. I don't know, I bet she was happy to have you there.
My mom, one thing about my mom, I'm very much like my mother was.
Do you look like your mom or your dad more?
I think I look like both of them. But my mom would wake up at like 5 a.m, like I do. And I would get up and I would sit with her in the morning and she'd listen to the radio, or we'd sit there and we'd talk. And if you left our building with my mother, she would run into people and she would just, but it was like so like delightful. Like everyone loved to stop and talk to my mom. And she was like on the board of directors in our building. And it was just, I loved the effect she had on people. It was just so fun to watch that. So I like to do that with the show.
You're good at it. You do. You make people feel really good about themselves.
She did that when she wanted to. I think we both have kind of a mean streak though too.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you do. Is there anything else you want to say today or share about?
I appreciate coming on. I love working with Mountainside. I love making Dopey. It's like one of my favorite things. It's like if I could rank my favorite things, my family would be first and Dopey would be second.
I love that you came full circle to be sitting here, though. You know, it's incredible. And I think in general, Mountainside, we have a beautiful relationship with a lot of, or most of our alumni. You know, people are always welcome back, and there's nothing, almost nothing better when you work in this field is like getting to see someone like love their life, you know, and do what they want to do and have the relationships they want. So I'm glad that you're here and that you were able to come back in this way.
And we're going to do so much cool stuff.
We're going to do there's so much more to come.
Are you excited?
I'm so excited to work with you. I feel like we've got very good energy. I know you love Howard Stern. I was thinking the other day, like, do you want me to be like Robin? Like, you know, like, your sidekick?
I think we have a great thing. I'm not worried about emulating anybody.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Jana.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, Mountainside can help. Call 860-365-6764 to speak with our caring treatment team.